Everybody, wait, hold on.
We're still live, Jake.
Oh.
We're live.
Never mind. What's going on, everybody? I thought the mic cut out for a minute, but it didn't. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talking Sports with Jake. Hope you're all doing well. We have the second ever live stream on Talking Sports with Jake ever. Once again, here in the podcast suite. Of course, we have Justin in the back.
We have a little change since last time, Jake. Booth cam.
That's right.
We
we have booth cam, so you all can see Justin now. Not only hear his beautiful voice, but you can see his beautiful face as well. Shout out to him. He worked really hard getting this thing on the road. It can be very complicated getting the live stream in this little studio.
And Jake paid me to dance.
I did not pay him to dance. That is not true. I do not have the money to pay anybody. Otherwise, we would be in a huge studio. But Justin worked really hard to put this together. So thank you to Justin. Of course, to my right is Ashton. To my left is Nick Alfidi. They are back. We are doing a mock... What?
Are we?
Yeah, we are. We are doing a mock draft live on the pod. So I'm going to be looking at your comments as we do this. Let me get to the live portion of this thing. Here we are. So if you feel free to comment.
You might want to mute yourself.
I should probably mute my computer. That would drive me nuts. That would drive me nuts. But feel free to comment in the chat, and I will try to read them off as quickly as I can. In fact, I am actually going to email this link to myself so I can let all my family and friends know that we are live, because there will be some certain individuals that will want to see this.
Shout out Jake's dad.
Maybe I told my dad that we were going live, and last time, I remember last time he made it a point to call Justin special, which was very funny.
Yes, he did. You know what, guys? While we're waiting for that, why don't we just start it off like this? What are our opening takeaways of this draft coming up so far? Look at me being a producer. I'm so sorry.
I know.
So shout out to Justin. For me, the number one pick to me, it's not as settled as it is in past years. A lot of times you pretty much know who it's going to be. We have a good feeling of who it's going to be, but it could be one of two or three guys.
Yeah.
It's pretty much locked.
But not super locked.
They are not going Allcock or Travis Hunter, especially when Will Levis is your quarterback. I think it's a little hard that you can go into this draft. Obviously, there's a lot of QB teams in this draft, but obviously, like everyone knows, it's not a strong quarterback class.
It is not.
It was
this
last
quarterback
year.
draft is very
and
bad.
like teams like the Giants who were sitting at seven or is it 6 last year? I forgot exactly what spot they were in.
Oh yeah, my fault. I'll eat my mic this time. But like realistically, when you look at last year, you had teams like the Commanders, the Bears, the Patriots, the Giants, the Broncos, surprisingly the Falcons took a quarterback, and the Vikings all wanted quarterback. And the Giants sat there at 6 and went Malik Neighbors, and now it kind of looks like it's backfiring because now you have to take a guy. They should have went
JJ there.
They should have took JJ, got your receiver this year. You have Tet, you have Matthew Golden, you have a bunch of players. And now you would have a franchise quarterback, got him as wide receiver 1 as a rookie, whatever way you want to go. But if you go back, it's like if you're those teams that passed on a quarterback that were in the top 3, you might have messed up.
I opened up the stream to you typing high 6 times.
I know.
Insane.
Yeah, that's.
I think there's a plethora of like options here. Like there's a bunch of intriguing teams in this draft, but obviously this draft doesn't have really generational talent other than maybe Abdul Carter. Travis Hunter is not a generational talent. No offense to Travis. You're a good player, but you're not generational. Everyone likes to throw that name around everywhere. Think about Trevor Lawrence was what? A generational talent. He was the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. And
I don't think he's generational either. He's a great player, but he's not generational.
Yeah, no. We haven't really, like, you don't need to be generational or to be a franchise guy. Like, look at it. Mahomes wasn't generational. Josh Allen, when he got drafted, wasn't generational. And they're 2 franchise guy.
Tom Brady wasn't considered generational.
He was a 6th round pick,
yeah,
199th, and he
know.
turned out to be the greatest quarterback of all time, but no one could predict that. You can't just throw generation around.
Right.
Like, do you think the Bills were like, this guy's generational in 2018 when they drafted Josh Allen? They went, no, this guy could be our franchise quarterback. And look, he just won his MVP. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Now you're like, oh, he didn't need to be generational. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
And his wife's hot. Let's put it out there. Let's put it out there. Nick knows all about it. He's the Bills guy
Bills fan here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not wife yet.
She's the only
they're
fiance.
engaged. They're going to be married.
But they will be married some point, probably this year, probably before the season, or it's going to be after next season. But that's all up to them. That's their personal life. But I don't
We're just
dictate what
intruding
their
on Josh
lives are
Allen's
like.
personal life. Insane. But let's get this show on the road. So, your 2025 NFL mock draft presented by TalkSports with Jake. The first pick is...
Nick.
Not
Nick.
sponsored by anybody.
It's sponsored by Sacred Heart University's
No
63s.
Yeah.
No, we are not sponsored by 63.
Definitely
Absolutely not.
Definitely not. All right, so you guys kind of, I don't know if this is the biggest spoiler in the world, but you kind of did spoil it a little bit. Tennessee, number 1 pick. I think the last time they had the number 1 pick was when they took Marcus Mariota,
Yeah.
correct?
I think it was.
I think they did, too.
Also, not a strong QB class, so there's history repeating itself a little bit. I have them going Cam Ward. I think this is probably the most. There's always going to be a little bit of smoke and mirrors, especially when you get to the top of the draft. But I think for a QB needy team, and the QB class itself is not too great. I think Cam Ward is probably the only one that I would feel very confident in as my day 1 starter. I think Cam Ward has a little bit more upside, and in the system that they run, I think he is a little bit better of a fit. Not to mention, I don't think Shedeur Sanders is a problem, but he does, because of his name, have a little bit of baggage. I like the fit with Cam Ward, and I think going anyone else, he probably isn't the highest, best prospect on the board, but that's, the kind of how skewed the quarterback market is.
When you look at this draft for quarterbacks, Cam Ward to me is my second quarterback on this list. He's the one that has the intangibles to be a good quarterback. He's got good arm strength. He needs to work on the accuracy. He's got great mobility. He's fast. But he's a little more project guy. I would like them to see start Will Levis for a bit. So even if they go 1-4 in
Cam
the first
shouldn't
5
start
games,
week 1 by any means.
do what they did, what the Patriots did with like Drake May, or what even Tom Brady said, sit him for a year. Like multiple quarterbacks would come out and sit for a rookie. The issue is with teams, they like to shove their rookie quarterback in.
I know.
Like we can go back in history. It didn't work out for Josh Allen his first couple of years. He was a pick machine. He wasn't that good. I remember watching him as a rookie in person. He wasn't that good. The next you know, you got him wide receiver 1. Next you know, he gets Stephon Diggs, and now look at Josh Allen now. He's 100% better quarterback than he was his first 2 years. So when you go and look at it, you have him sit behind somebody. Will Levis, I know, is not the best veteran to put there because when you look at it.
He's not. I see it, Ashton. That's where I do disagree. I think
You don't throw a project out there.
Will Levis is also the project. I mean, I'm not really sure. You put 2
But the-
projects
It's
out
the
there.
but
one
the
of
issue
better
is
of
with
two
Cam
evils,
Ward,
I guess.
But when you put out Cam Ward when the team's 1-4, 1-5, 1-6, 0-5, 0-7, whatever their record is, all those expectations that you would put on if you started week 1
Go away.
all go away, because guess what? You can't play worse than the guy who's starting ahead of you. So now if
Well,
you throw
I think that only works though. Like I think to Justin's point, like Will Levis necessarily has not worked out.
Yes.
Like, if
exactly.
you- That only works what you're saying, because remember you're talking to grown men who are competing and needing jobs, right? And you can't like just say to them, hey, like we're gonna start our rookie quarterback, or we're not gonna start a rookie quarterback because I care more about him than the 52 other guys on the roster. You can't do that. So the idea is, I would try to pick up a veteran. And do
That's
that.
what they should have done.
they realistically should have brought
they
a guy
should've-
like a Jacoby Brissett
Brissett
did
in.
last
Yeah.
year.
or brought back Mason Rudolph or
Josh
something.
Dobbs, bring him back to town.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Ryan Tannehill.
Because
they
I
should not kept Will Levis in the room.
I guarantee you, Cam Ward is going to beat out Will Levis for the job.
The issue
And
is, it's like, the one thing is, like, yeah, I think 100% agree with you. He's going to 100% beat out Will Levis. He's a way better quarterback prospect than Will Levis ever was. But the only thing is, it's like, I'd rather put less pressure on Cam Ward because, one, he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. And when you're the number 1 overall pick, everyone puts you at ceiling here already because you're the number 1 overall pick. I'd rather just lower those expectations, start Will Levis, and tell him, oh, you're playing
That
bad.
I do agree with. The
Like-
pressure, no matter where you are, even in some of the worst franchise, the Titans are right now not a good franchise. They were when they had Vrabel, and then they fired him, and then
I don't know that.
they're no longer a good
Because
franchise.
of their goofy ownership. But yeah.
Their goofy ownership. But
They fired him because they traded A.J. Brown like it was his
They
decision.
fired him because
Do
they
you
wanted to
not
keep
s-
the GM, and then fired the GM a year later.
Did you not even see his
Dumb.
reaction in draft night? He looked like he was ready to go fight a
He
wall.
was not happy.
He was
He
about
was
to
not
go
thrilled.
punch a brick wall and knock it down. Like
He was not.
he
thrilled.
was not happy with that move, but he had to accept it because they did it. But like he was
because it
forced to,
happened.
because it happened, you can't do anything now. But like it's just like one of those things. The Titans, when they fired Vrabel, sent their team back 10 years because once they did, all the players left. Then you just lost Jack Gibbons, who was a good linebacker for them. You released Harold Landry, which made no sense because him and Jeffrey Simmons, I almost said Josh Simmons, that's a tackle in this year's draft, were a good duo, and they could get to the quarterback. That wasn't a problem last year, and now you have to resolve 100 more issues. You have a quarterback issue, you have wide receiver issues, you have lineman issues.
The only reason why I do think Cam Ward should start is because I know that because they draft him one, they will blame everybody before him. Everyone else will be blamed before him. Brian Callahan will be fired before him. Even if 2 years from now he's still not playing great, he's still gonna. I don't know. It's
I don't
like
even think
he's
it's
not
the
a great
offensive play
foreigner,
calling.
But start the kid. Start the kid.
Like, if you realistically look at it, Brian Callahan, the head coach, great hire, by the way. I actually did like the hire when they hired him. He was the Bengals' offensive coordinator, and you saw the offense there. I don't think the offense, once he gets some pieces around and he gets a wide receiver one, if that is trained back in the first, guy and guy at 33, whatever it is going to be a solid pick. Like, it's going to be, and let him develop time. The issues what teams like to do is they like to jump. They want your head. Like, Titans were, like, very lucky that Vrabel worked out the first year. Like, they went from 4 straight winning seasons. In his second year, he goes and ends the Patriots dynasty. The very next year, he has another good season. In 2021, he was the number 1 seed in a stacked AFC. Think about it. You had the Bills. You had the Chiefs. You had the Ravens. You had the Bengals. Every team was good that year. And he was the number 1 seed with Ryan Tannehill leading the thing. And now you fire him. And now they're expecting Brian Callahan in his first year with nothing of talent other than Jeffrey Simmons, L'Jarius Sneed, and Harold Landry to be the best team out there.
Yeah, that was a very stupid move. Like I have some concerns with Cam Moore. I think the footwork needs a lot of work. The accuracy, like you mentioned, needs a lot of work. The good news is a lot of this stuff with good coaching can be fixed. But
Brian Callahan is definitely good.
It obviously has to be fixed. So that's my trepidation there. I mean, every quarterback in this draft is going to be overdrafted. It's the way it's going to be. Nick, you mentioned maybe not necessarily the best prospect on the board, but it's just such a need. So that's the way they go. So second pick is the Cleveland Browns. By the way, shout out to Great North Sports. What's up, guys? They just popped into the comments. I believe that's Armchair and Stone Sports from the Discord channel. That's their thing. So shout out to them. But second overall, Cleveland Brown. That is my pick.
Yes.
I'm between 2. I'm gonna go with Abdul Carter. This is what I think the pick should be. I think he's a better prospect than Travis Hunter. You have Myles Garrett obviously signed for a long time. You put him and Myles Garrett together. That's a very dangerous duo for a very long time. I think Hunter is a very good player. I think he's a little bit overhyped, but should be a very good player. But just some concerns of where is he playing and things like that.
I think he's gonna be a receiver the way he played at the pro day. He did go receiver, so
it's weird because right after the football season ended, it looked like he was going to go receiver. But then everything we heard about him that he was a corner. Now based on like his pro day,
based on the team.
Yeah, that's true. It's based on the team. But I'm gonna go Abdul Carter. He doesn't have the baggage that possibly comes with Hunter. It's the simpler pick. I mean, it's the Browns' ownership. You never know. They could do something silly.
The one issue is that like I'm gonna have with Abdul Carter going here. Like it's a great fit, but like I just. Like you have Lamar Jackson, you have Joe Burrow in your division. Obviously, you're lucked out that the Steelers don't have a quarterback. I don't think pass rush for them is really a need because you have Myles. If you lost Myles Garrett,
everything's a need for the Browns.
I would have went.
That's true.
Like obviously, we've been hearing Travis Hunter's going too, and I think it makes sense when you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on one team. You do need secondary help, and Denzel Ward hasn't been great in the last couple of years, which is surprising because he was one of the better quarterbacks in the league. He's still good, but like. Your team is so depleted. I can also see. I think they should also go quarterback here. This should be a team that they don't have a quarterback. The Deshaun Watson trade did not work out. If it was
a stronger class, that would have helped. Obviously,
the issue is like they might go in the second round and take Tyler Schlow from. I think that's how you pronounce Schlau. I don't know how you pronounce his name. From Louisville, but like I don't think he's your quarterback in the future. No. I think if you have a chance, I think you take Shedeur here, obviously, but I'm not the Browns. so I'm not going to for them.
I am not
But
the Browns GM.
I just think Travis Hunter here makes more sense than Abdul. I think Abdul by far is the best player, the generational player of this draft. And any team is getting him, you're getting a stud. Obviously, he's going to be a great edge duo with Myles Garrett and him. You're definitely going to get quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrows, and get after. But the issue is, like, okay, you get him after you sack Joe Burrow 4 times, but they already scored 38 points and you already scored 10. You already lost the game. So it's like, I don't think it really helps them that much, but the Browns are going to do what the Browns do. It's not going to be like, I'm not going to say it's an F grade pick. It's still going to be an A grade. It's just
it won't win them a whole lot more games because of their god-awful situation.
Like if this was like the Bills and hypothetically had number 2
Yeah.
and you draft Abdul Carr, you're just drafting best player available. Who cares? Like, that's a good pick. But when you're a team like the Browns who needs way more than just an edge, I think it just makes more sense to go Travis Hunter. At least you can get a corner or a wide receiver depending on what you see.
But yeah, so 3rd overall pick, New York Giants.
Justin.
All right, Justin.
Hi,
who are you
guys.
taking? Hi, Justin.
All right, so this is another one. So the Giants are another one of those teams. It's pretty simple. The Giants are one of those teams to where they also need everything. Titans, Browns, and Giants need everything. However, what I think they need is quarterback. So with that pick, I actually think they're going Shedeur Sanders here.
Oh.
I think this whole like Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter is all smoke screen.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Shedeur Sanders screams Giant.
He does.
It's Giant or Brown.
He screams Giant.
Yeah.
And that QB room is not going to win you games. That QB room is not going to help Malik Neighbors at all.
It'll be entertaining, but that's
because
about
you
it.
need to build your team around Malik Neighbors. Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Tommy DeVito is not going to be a good quarterback room. What I think should happen, though, and this is where I want to bring in veteran presence, have Russ start a couple of games, then put Shedeur in. At least Russell Wilson is washed, but let's not. But we're also not talking about some scrub quarterback here. He has won Super Bowls. He's probably the greatest, if not the greatest, one of the greatest Seahawks of all time.
Not gonna lie, I could see them starting Russell the whole year.
Like I think Shedeur's the perfect pick here. I don't think you can go wrong with that pick.
There again, it's Joe Shane and it's Brian Dable, and they're on the really on a very much a hot streak, like on a very very hot seat. I know Brian Dable is one of the better coaches in the
Brian
league.
Dable shouldn't be in a
doesn't-
hot seat, but
he doesn't
will
get
fired.
credit
He's going to
enough
get fired.
for what he has done with this team. He led Daniel Jones to a playoff win, which is crazy to say. But when you realistically look at it, you have to take a quarterback here. Like I said, I think the Travis Hunter Abdul stuff is all smoke show, and every fan I've seen on Twitter that's a Patriots fan is freaking the heck out. I'm like, and Giants fans are even saying like, why we need a quarterback? Like obviously I would love Abdul Carter, but again, if we pass on Shedeur and he goes to like the Raiders or someone like that, and he comes a star, and we draft Travis Hunter and he doesn't work out, now it looks bad on us because you've already done this multiple times. You did it with Allen. You've done it multiple times before. You've done it last year with JJ, and he could come a star. Next, well, I don't have a quarterback. And now you're saying next year looking for a quarterback with a new head coach, a new GM, and a new pretty much everything. And I just don't think you can go this season without a rookie quarterback. And it has to be a first-round pick.
Yeah, like I'm very low on Shedeur Sanders, but Justin, actually, you both made good points about how Brian Dable and Joe Shane are definitely on the hot seat. You take a rookie quarterback, that should buy them some more time. A lot of guys in today's league like to make picks based off to save their job, not necessarily to benefit the organization. Not that Shedeur isn't benefiting the organization. I personally don't think it is, but someone else might disagree. If they develop him, obviously it could be a different story. But I do think this will be the pick. Despite their quarterback being a little bit busy, because you brought in Russell Wilson, you brought in Jameis Winston. However, those are cheap contracts, and Tommy DeVito is not an NFL quarterback, so you can always let him go.
Tell the Giants that.
Exactly.
Had him on their team for 2 years. Tell me that.
That's right. Tommy DeVito is a rival of Justin's. But he is not good though. He is beyond. He's my op. He's Justin's op, but no, he is not good though. I see why and his little insanity on is beyond over. So
yeah,
just get rid of him. Should have worked to the Giants. 4th overall pick, New England Patriots. Ashton gets his team. It worked out that way. Ashton, who do you have to take?
So I have So obviously you're gonna take best player available. That's what Elliot Wolf, the GM's saying. And you did a lot in free agency. You go get Milton Williams, Carlton Davis, Stephon Diggs. You go get Morgan Moses. You go get Garrett Bradbury. You also hired Mike Vrabel, so you have one of the better coaches in the league. Go best player available. You're gonna have to take Travis Hunter here. That's gonna be the pick. Obviously, he doesn't need to play corner. You have plethora of corners. You have Christian Gonzalez, who's been one of the best last year. Carlton Davis is no slump either. He's also a very good corner. And you have Marcus Jones, who's a solid slot guy. You play Travis at wide receiver. He could develop under Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is a good receiver to learn from. He's been one of the better leagues. And, like, for the sake of it, Patriots have seen Stephon Diggs 6 times over 3 years that he was in Buffalo. And he was always a person that, like, you'd watch that game. The Patriots would go up 14-0. Next thing you know, it was 14-14 because Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen was probably one of the best duos in the league. And now you go get that guy. Teaches Travis Hunter, and Travis Hunter comes your wide receiver 1 when Diggs is out the door. And now you got a good player. Travis is a very good wide receiver. He's obviously, I don't think, is the best receiver in the draft, but I think he's the best overall talent. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think Tyrone McMillan's a better receiver prospect, but you can't go away from Travis Hunter he's a good route runner. He's got a good catch radius. He's fast. So you got a plethora of things. And if you really need him to play corner any moment, you could shove him there as well.
Yeah, for like a player too, yeah.
What concerns me about Travis is that this guy was playing 150 snaps a game. And I said this last year when he started in Colorado. I said to Jake, you know he cannot play 150 snaps a game in the NFL.
That's not possible.
So I don't know. I need him to pick a position. To be honest with you, I don't think he's that good as a corner. Yes, I get it. If it's a Hail Mary, you got to run deep,
or
send in your corners.
Third and 20.
Yeah, or third and 20, absolutely. But I do not. But he cannot play 150 snaps, and nobody and no coach should be able to deal with his attitude of saying I want to play 150 snaps, because it's not happening unless he likes getting out of the league in 3 years.
Luckily, the Patriots have a coach that is not afraid to chew out his own players.
But yeah, I saw his speech today. He was like, no hoods,
no phones, no respect. Which I like. That's a culture setter. You needed that. The Patriots haven't had a good culture in 3 years.
But now you're also setting up a Vic Fangio situation, to where
Vic Fangio wasn't respected. Like, he was never respected by his players. Where people looked at Vrabel, his teams were successful in Tennessee, and he had a bunch of nobodies. And you sit there, and this guy comes in, you're like, okay, this guy, he's a leader of men. Vic Fangio wasn't a leader of men. No. Granted, he was in Miami, and they didn't. And McDaniel is the most lenient head coach, so they didn't respect Fangio. They didn't like getting coached hard. But look within the Eagles. They just won a Super Bowl. They had one of the best defenses ever because you know what? They sat there and listened. Yeah. I sit there. I chew you apart. You know what? Jake, if you're one of the players and you weren't playing well, I'm not afraid.
I don't enjoy how you're looking at me and chewing me apart.
But if you're a player and you're the coach, you have to set a standard. And the issue was, last year when you were in New England, you had no standard. They're playing basketball. They're riding bikes in the locker room. You could tell there's no culture because of the way the team played. Mm-hmm. But then, you look at, any other team, the Chiefs, the Eagles, even, the Buffalo Bills, they all have a culture that they all build around, right? Everyone's different.
I mean, the Bills' culture is losing to the Chiefs.
But they have a culture that sets them to be good. Once you have a culture... But once you see these teams have cultures, look how good. The Bills are always fighting for an AFC championship. They're always fighting for a Super Bowl. The Chiefs always have been fighting for a Super Bowl. If they're not in it, they're very close. They're there. Mm-hmm. Even the Bengals with Zach Taylor has a culture. They're always a very, very good team. They're always a competitive. Even Mike Tomlin, who's with a team that's always mediocre, but there's something there that makes them work. So I think Travis Hunter is going to be fine here. Yeah, I think he'll make him choose a position. And then he'll play a couple plays. You'll probably scheme him in maybe 10 plays at corner during a game, which is plethora. If he plays 70% of offensive snaps, and he plays 1% of defensive snaps, and he plays a total of 40 snaps a game, that's not that bad.
Yeah. So Hunter to the Patriots. The 5th overall pick is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Nice, stay on the clock. This is where Jacksonville fans, I've seen this from multiple people when I watched some mock drafts. I watched Bengals mock draft. And he had a lot of Jaguars fans say they hated this pick, but I think this is a phenomenal pick. They're taking Mason Graham, the defensive lineman in Michigan.
Do Jags fans really not like that?
They do not.
They are.
I'm actually.
Why do Jags fans not like that?
He never said there was what reason. I just think
their best team.
Who's
ever
he?
Was their best teams ever were a defensive-oriented team.
Oh, he's a dope.
But the issue is, it's he always constantly did, and they always whine. I'm like, Well, here's the thing. He's the best D lineman that's not named Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
Because
easily.
Jalen
doubt.
Walker is a linebacker. He can rush off the edge, but he is a defensive lineman. He's not a defensive lineman. He's a linebacker. But Mason Graham gives you a presence in the front that compare with Josh Hines Allen, because obviously he had to change his name because it got confusing. Josh Allen, the DN, and then there's Josh Allen, the quarterback. So he changed it to Hines Allen. He's a very good player. You got to build a defense. You know what defense helps? Young quarterbacks.
Yeah. And
when you're a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars, you got to bring back that Saxonville. I know you got a new coach who's like, Duval.
Oh my
And
God, Liam Cohn.
shout out Liam Cohn.
that
He's
was
actually
bad.
from my hometown.
That's right, he is.
Oh.
He actually, I think he lives like 10 minutes. His parents live like
Does
10
he?
minutes away from me or
Wow.
somewhere. He lives near me somewhere. I just don't know exactly. But I think it's just the right pick. You got a new coach. Obviously, they can go wide receiver here. I just think Brian Thomas and Gabe Davis will be fine for another year. And
As you
if
just
suck,
dox yourself on TV.
I might have. I'd say where.
Live. Oh my God,
but-
Ashton.
Dox me live. Great North Sports, please come to my house.
But I think this is a great pick. I don't think there's much explaining how good
Yeah.
Mason Graham is. Obviously, if Abdul Carter was sitting here, you're taking him over Mason Graham. But
He's not.
you need help on the defensive side. I go see Will Johnson, but I just think perfect fit will be Mason Graham.
Absolutely, he's the best player on the board to me. 6th overall pick is the Las Vegas Raiders.
That's Justin.
All right, this is where it really gets interesting. So, Justin, take it away.
All right, so I just waved to the camera. Obviously, everybody's gonna like that. That's definitely
Yes.
going on my Hinge profile. Totally. Single rating, you know.
Hey, hey.
Single, ready to mingle, easy.
Oh, yeah.
For anyone who's wondering, I'm 6'5". I play on the tennis team and the football team, and I also own a shelter for puppies and kittens.
Shout out Justin.
Woo, Justin.
All right,
We'll
well,
be
this,
visiting the shelter later.
all right, well, this pick, the Raiders are weird. They did solve a quarterback issue with Geno. I don't think he's phenomenal, but it's better than what they've had recently with the whole Gardner Minshew's and your
Aiden
Jimmy
O'Connells.
G's and your Aiden O'Connells and your Derek Carrs. I think they have solved that issue.
For
They
this year.
struggle the most on wide receiver and running back, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Tight end, they're great. Tight end, they're
Brock
perfect.
Bowers.
Brock Bowers has been phenomenal. So with that, I think you should use because I do kind of like Brock Bowers' ability to block. So with that, give me Ashton Genty, the running back,
This
the
makes
true
sense.
Heisman winner, in my opinion.
Yes.
For that, he was a freak. Yes, I know there was the whole argument. Oh, he played in the Mountain West, 2,000 rushing yards. He's averaging 250 rushing yards a game at one point.
He almost broke the record.
Yeah, he almost did break the record, and if his line was better, he would have. He is an absolute one-man wrecking crew. First of all, the dude's also huge. The dude's jacked.
He is jacked.
He, in my opinion, can be the next Derrick Henry, just with his size.
He's
and
built
his
like
ability
he's
to
built like
move.
a shorter Derrick Henry,
He
basically.
is built like a shorter Derrick Henry. So I think the Raiders cannot pass up on this pick. You already have a franchise guy in your defense. Why not with Max Crosby? Why not add another franchise guy in your offense with Ashton Genty? He will, and with Geno Smith, he can make it work on a little bit of some screens because he can catch the ball as well. I think this is a perfect option for the Raiders here.
Definitely, he's one of the few exceptions to the rule of not drafting our running back high. He's going to be a superstar. Raiders need a back very badly as well, and he's a star. That brings us to the 7th overall pick with the New York Jets, which is moi.
Don't hurt me.
I will do my best not to hurt you, Justin.
me.
I promise. I am between two players here, but I am going to go with Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. Based off my conversations off camera with Justin, I don't believe I heard him. I hope I didn't. But Tyler Warren is definitely a superstar tight end, incredible pass catcher. There aren't a ton of blocking tight ends in this draft. He's definitely one of the better ones. He's a decent blocker, not the best, but you're drafting him to catch the ball. Justin Fields had some good rapport with some tight ends. Cole Kmet in Chicago, he had a decent rapport with Pat Fryer from Pittsburgh before he was benched for Russell Wilson. He really needs a legit tight end to succeed. They could use maybe one more tackle, which is why I consider Will Campbell, because Fields is also really fast and will run a lot. So I think they have 4 pretty solid off the line already there. They can maybe get a tackle in a round or 2. So I'm going to go with Tyler Warren out of Penn State.
I'm just going to jump in on this because I'm also a Jet fan. That's why I said don't hurt me. I like that. I agree with
Okay.
that pick. Of
Mhm.
course, you know I agree with that pick. It was either between Tyler Warren or Jackson Dart for me.
Mhm.
And Tyler Warren, I love him. He's a great tight end. Has great tape. The Jets have not had a good quarterback since Mike Schuler, who played in like the 80s, 90s. They have not had a good tight end since then.
Yeah.
Because Tyler Conklin has not been great. C.J. Uzama shit the bed with us.
He was horrible.
So Tyler Warren's perfect here. Also, I do think that Jackson Dart will be in the second round, to where maybe we can take him there.
Okay.
Versus Tyler Warren, to where he will not make it to the second round. Somebody
No.
will pick him up because he's the
Yeah.
best tight end available, and it's not even close. So
For
good pick.
sure.
If the Jets make it, please.
Eighth. So that brings us to the 8th overall pick, which is the Carolina
Nick.
Panthers.
Shout out, Nick.
That would be Nick. So Nick.
Nick, I really haven't heard from
Nick's
us
got
today, man.
back-to-back
What's going
picks.
on?
I know, yeah.
You need a hug or something?
You
No,
know?
It was the Bills comment. It kind of made me like,
The Bills.
Yeah.
You've been quiet for 20 minutes. What do you mean?
Eighth pick.
Yeah,
Carolina
so no,
Panthers.
I'm gonna. I think this is interesting how the board fell to me. You look at the Panthers. There's a lot of pessimism with this organization, whether they were ruining Bryce Young or not, whether Bryce Young was always ruined, et cetera, et cetera. The second half of the season really showed that Bryce Young is someone you can build around, and there's some optimism for this team. It's funny thing is I liked what they did both off seasons. I thought last year and this year I thought they've really done a good job of surrounding Bryce Young with some talent, but obviously there's more work to be done, and I'm honestly surprised this guy fell to me. I'm going to go with Ted McMillan out of Arizona. So you could go a couple of ways with the Panthers. They need some edge help, right? They need wide receiver, but I feel like he is probably a top 5 prospect that is falling to you. He reminds me a lot of, AJ Green as that alpha X big-bodied receiver. His ability at the catch point is really good. He has some good football IQ, and he kind of knows how to box his corner out, almost like a basketball player in that sense. That prototypical X receiver. He has really good tracking, the deep ball. Really good, as I said, elite ball skills. And I mean, we've seen the highlights every week of him making absurd catches. And you're talking about a guy that's what is he, 6'4", 219. I feel like he's a player that can make an immediate impact on the X at the X position, and he has a ceiling of a legitimate top 5 guy in the league. So especially for a Bryce Young that is small, to give him a big target to look at is really important. So I'm gonna go Ted McMillan.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty, like you said, he just kind of fell into your lap. He's definitely going to be a top-level receiver in this league, I think, and that's a big need for them. They need a big receiver for Bryce Young, and they get it with Ted McMillan out of Arizona.
And
Ninth
Nick
pick is the
stays.
New Orleans Saints, which is back to Nick, I believe.
Nick, are you sure you didn't mean Bryce Johnson?
Icy
Oh my
Bracey!
God.
What?
Icy Bracey from Saint.
basketball legend.
Oh God.
You went Bryce Johnson?
Oh my
no,
God.
definitely not.
Sorry.
Definitely not.
Oh my
Unless he
God.
can throw the ball. I mean, I don't think he can. Can he? Who knows?
Maybe to the other team. Maybe to the other team. I don't know about
Yeah.
to his own team. But
right.
Saints, 9th overall pick.
God, I don't even know where to start. So this team is one of those teams where it's like best player available. You just need like anyone.
Yeah.
Really. And you look at what they're missing. I really do feel like they are, missing that edge presence. I feel like especially with the, drop off of why is he slipping my mind?
Cam Jordan?
Yeah, exactly. Cam Jordan, someone that, I feel like has been such a stalwart for the organization for so long, but obviously he's not what he once was. I'm going to go with Mike Green out of Marshall. I feel like this is, it might be a little bit of a reach because he's a little bit of an unknown small school, but I feel like this is exactly right up the alley of the Saints.
I'm not sure if I love that pick, Nick. I'm not sure if I love that pick. Not going to lie, buddy.
I understand. There's some hesitancy.
You cannot go into this season with Derek Carr, Jake Hayner, and Spencer Rattler.
So what do you suggest they do in a terrible QB class with no cap space, and they're already tied to Derek Carr? Like, they have no options.
Just go Quinn Ewers.
No, that's that. You're just throwing away a.
They could get in
top
that
10
What do you mean
round.
I'm throwing away a first?
Have you seen Quinn Ewers' tape?
Yeah,
Have you watched him?
Yeah, I have.
He was not the
But
best
guess
quarterback
what?
on the
The
team
Saints don't
this
care,
year.
and neither do I. The Saints do not care about their franchise. They have bigger fish to fry from the ownership standpoint, what's been going on behind the scenes.
Well,
than,
okay.
Than
This
drafting.
exercise is what I would do, correct?
No.
Correct? This is
Basically,
what I would do.
Maybe.
Yeah, you're not. I am not taking a quarterback top 10, especially in this draft,
They do need to go best player.
Unless
That
Shedeur
roster
Sanders
is
falls to
beyond
you,
atrocious.
unless Shedeur falls to you, which I even wouldn't really be that excited about. But obviously, with how dire their quarterback position is, I would do it. Unless that happens, like you're just taking best player available, and it is either on the offensive or defensive line for me. And I was between James Pierce Jr., the edge out of Tennessee, or Mike Green. But Mike Green, 6'3", 251. He has a really good burst. He kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Melvin Ingram type. He has really good bend, which is what you're really looking for, that explosive bend. Yeah, again, a player that, like, out of the gate, he could be a rotational player for you, but if he is given, a development path that is favorable, I think he could be number one on a team like the Saints.
One thing I just realized when I was looking at the pick order, I did make a mistake.
What mistake
After
did you
20
What happened?
is
What?
that it goes to not being a snake draft anymore.
Can we cross that path? Do you want to just readjust it and then we could cross?
I
that?
already readjusted it. I can always just tell who has the pick if you want to do that.
Yeah.
That's
I
fine.
can just
Yeah.
do
We'll
that.
just figure it out.
So
or
now,
just figure it out
but
'cause it's snake. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, but right now it is the 10th overall pick, the Chicago Bears, which belongs to me.
I'm stealing it, Jake.
So-
Stealing your pick.
10th
I
overall
want
pick.
more airtime. I'm gonna put
10th
this on my talent portfolio that I don't have.
10th pick, the Chicago
Fantastic.
Bears. This one, Ashton was just hinting at I take Omarion Hampton. That's not where I'm going to go. Bears were pretty busy in free agency. They added to the pass rush. They revamped the offensive line, which is something that they needed to do. I'm gonna go to the defensive side of the ball. I'm gonna take Malachi Starks, a safety out of Georgia. I don't love taking safeties this early, but I think Starks is an excellent player.
He's a great player.
He can do it all. Coming from Georgia, Nick, you're a Georgia fan. Those defenders, they're not always the smartest bulbs in the box.
Yeah.
But
They usually commit some type of issue.
they
to
usually
some degree.
have some sort of baggage. But as far as I know, Starks is clean. He's a really good player.
And, dude, there's still 2 weeks. There's still 2
There's
weeks.
still
Watch
a couple
yourself.
weeks. You
There's
never
still 2
know.
weeks to
And then
this.
still a whole training camp and everything like that. So you never know. But on the field, Starks is really good. I think they can use another piece on the back end, the Bears, and they will get it with Malachi Starks.
Yeah.
So that's the 11th. Now we're going to the 11th pick, San Francisco
Justin.
49er, which is
Oh, yeah, I forgot I had
Justin.
a pick. Not gonna lie, guys. I kind of forgot I had the pick. That just kind of.
I mean, I could tag in.
No.
I can tag it.
I could do it.
Tag team match.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
All right. You cook.
Okay. The Niners are also weird. They had a very, very down season last year.
Mhm.
They did lose Debo. Ayuk's still hurt. I'm not necessarily sure where I want to go here.
I feel like there's an obvious answer to this pick.
Hey, you know what? Nick? You know what, Nick?
I'm just saying.
Hey,
I'm
Nick,
just saying, like,
I know what
it's
I
right
would
there
do
for
about
you.
it.
It's right there for you.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick.
Mhm.
You're making me self-conscious.
Mm.
You're making me self-conscious.
Hey, you said you wanted to hear
Matt,
from me. I
will
hadn't
cut to
spoken
black
for a
right now.
minute.
I will cut to
Oh,
black right
Lord.
now.
You won't.
Yeah, it's my pick. It's what I would do here. So, I'm looking at 2 guys here. They need some line help. They need everything, though. They need everything. Everything except for running back and tight end. Even Brock Purdy is not that good. If you ask me, I think they just need a new coach. But, just clean house. But here is where I'm actually going to go, believe it or not, Luther Burden.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
They
Little
do have
they
to-
swerve
need-
there.
They need there. I was also thinking Will Campbell. I'm not sure why you're saying to me, Nick, that it was right in your face. Who would you have picked here?
I'm gonna if he falls to me, I'm just gonna tell you. But
I think I know who it is. I think I know who it is, but
I mean, you're on the mark with the offensive line.
What did I do, man? Wow, it's like you
oh,
just,
so it's one of 2 guys then. Okay.
Yeah.
well, you're just absolute. Well, you're just you're just teasing right now.
Mm.
Really? Gross. You're sick. You're a sick man. Wow.
So Justin throws a little change up there and goes Luther Bird, receiver out of Missouri,
That
to the
replaced Debo, so.
to the Niners for Deebo Samuel's
I think
replacement.
He's still a solid receiver. And on top of that, in the first round they're drafting Ricky Pearsall. I don't put anything past this team anymore.
So that's going to bring up the 12th pick, which is the Dallas Cowboys, belongs to Ashton. So Ashton, Dallas Cowboys.
Well,
Pick the wrong guy here.
It's actually going to be a very heavy reach, but it's also a need for them. They're going to be taking Tyler Booker, the guard out of
Really?
Alabama. They need to replace Zach Martin.
That's a Cowboy thing to
He
do.
loses the retirement. So it's like you got to fix that offensive line. You got to protect whoever's going to be a quarterback. Joe Milton, Dak Prescott, probably for 6 games, then Joe Milton for the rest of the season. They could also go receiver here. They could go draft the Matthew Golden, which I did think about, but I was just like, I think go better for need. Go get Trevor Booker. He's a good guard. This just screams the Cole Strange pick a couple years ago. I had to bring that up, but it's just a good pick here.
I can't tell if you like or don't like Cole Strange.
Mixed feelings.
You
When he
have a love
plays,
relationship?
he's good, but he never plays. So I don't like that.
Yeah, it's Miami Davis, yeah.
He's literally AD of the NFL. So like they just gotta go offensive line here, but you go get the best guard in the draft, who actually could be a first-round pick, but I just don't really see him being a first-round pick.
Yeah.
But if some team takes him in the first-round pick, I'm not going to criticize for it.
Yeah, this is a Jerry Jones pick, for sure.
And
which he-
now,
For sure.
You got the Dolphins next, Ashton.
13th
I do.
overall pick, back to Ashton.
I was gonna go on the hot take here and take Jackson Dart because they need a quarterback after Tua, and Tua's most likely probably gonna have to retire after this year.
He will never retire.
But
he needs to figure that out.
I'm
himself.
going
He will
for
never
need.
retire.
Based on a retirement that just recently happened. Teron Armstead said, I'm out. Peace. I'm good at football. I'm done. So, this guy surprisingly falls to 13.
I know who it is.
Will Campbell, the tackle at LSU.
Yeah.
Obviously, 33-inch arms. Obviously, people have been criticizing that. This would have been my Patriots pick if Travis Hunter did not.
Yeah.
If Travis Hunter did
Like
not
I said,
fall before.
I consider them at 7 for Jeff as well.
And Will Campbell, he's the best tackle in this draft by far. There's a
I
severe
disagree.
gap.
You disagree?
You
Who
think
is
it's-
it then?
you think
I
it's
disagree.
Membo? You think
Who
it's
is it
Membo?
then?
Wait.
Stop.
Is it Kelvin Banks?
So that
I-
so it wasn't Campbell you were alluding. It was the other guy you were alluding to. Okay.
I
Here's the
Abstain.
thing. The one thing that pushes me
Abstain.
away from Armand Membu and Kelvin Banks is that, like, he's a not LSU. Will Campbell, he's not at the university, but he goes to the University of LSU. He is a very much an athletic guy. He's fast for an offensive lineman. He's strong. I know everyone's like, oh, he has the arms of a guard. I literally don't care about the arm size at all.
He has very
But
similar
Doug Marrone
measurables
says
to Rashawn
it's what
Slater.
Doug Marrone says it's what you do with what you have.
Also,
so he is
Rashawn
33
Slater is the same length arms.
Yeah, literally, he's one of the best tackles in the league. And when you look at, he played Shamar Stewart, and I was watching some of his highlights against Shamar Stewart. So Shamar Stewart did not get to the quarterback past Will Campbell. He had to go to the other side to get to the quarterback, but he never did on. He was only allowed 2 sacks in the last 2 years.
Wow.
So that's pretty impressive for a guy. Armand Membu, to me, his draft rise concerns me because the moment how you go from a late first-round pick to a top 4 pick in a matter of a week because of one combine and Will Campbell having short arms, I think Armand Membu is still going to be a good tackle, and I still think Kevin Banks. They're just not as good as Will Campbell. But if you're taking Armand Membu or Calvin Banks, you're going to be fine at tackle. But I think this is a perfect pick for the Dolphins. You got to protect Tua. He's one concussion away from being medically retired because doctors are going to tell him you can never play football again. You want to become a coach? Become a coach, but you can't be a player.
He's got kids, man. He's got to stop.
That
He's
too.
got to hang it up. Guy's got
And
kids.
he's going to be – he could possibly be brain dead. He could be having dementia. He's already going to have
forget
CTE.
skill. The dude will die from this.
It's going to be something that causes –
his next concussion. He unfortunately might not be so lucky.
Well, he might wake up. The issue is that he might not have the greatest memory, and that's not going to be good, especially when you have kids that are very, very young. They're like 5 and 3 years old. You probably want to be able to see them the next day and be able to see their memories, watch them grow up, and not have to worry about the damage you've already done from having 4 concussions already. He had a 5th one that wasn't documented because he came back in that game. And that was against the Bills 2 years ago where I forgot who sacked him. I think it was Gregory Rousseau. He smacked his head. He got up. He stumbled. You knew he had a concussion then. And then 2 weeks later,
The fingers, dude.
against the Bengals, he gets sacked and he does not move. I actually thought he got paralyzed. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm glad he was okay. It was only a concussion, but you gotta protect him, especially with the history of concussions. So getting a tackle here is the best option here. And Justin, you're now on the pick with 14.
Indianapolis Colts. Oh, that's right. Justin has some.
I don't want to do it because
Justin
Nick
doesn't
made
like
me
the
feel
Colts.
uncomfortable.
What?
Nick, you have
Poor
made me
Nick
feel
is just
I
uncomfortable.
didn't
catching
what?
strays.
Well, how did it make you,
because
how
you
did it
were
make
like
you feel
because you
uncomfortable?
were like make the right pick here. It's staring right in front of you, and then I don't make it. You want me to just draft? You just want me to draft a kicker here, Nick?
You won't.
Kicker at 14.
I'll go kicker right
No.
here. All right. Last time I had the Colts, I said they should draft Laiatu Latu,
And they did draft
and they
Latino.
did. So I was
That's right.
So maybe I just have a streak of just predicting what the Colts will do. I still like Laiatu Latu, but I still think they could build up that defense even more. So give me Jahad Campbell.
Okay.
When everybody, where Nick stares at me in disgust for that pick. I think he is quite good. He has been a very bright spot in a whatever, even though the record says otherwise, a mediocre Alabama team. This Alabama team was not very good, but he was a really good defender there. I think they just need to focus on what they're the best in, and to me, that is their defense. If you have a mediocre quarterback situation, you build up your defense. I always think about that early 2000s Super Bowl winning Ravens team. They did not have a very good quarterback. Trent Dilfer is not a good quarterback, but you know what they had? They had a phenomenal defense, and all Anthony Richardson, all Joe Flacco need to do is they just need to give the defense time to rest. And with that, then you could have a phenomenal season ahead of you. So with that, give me Campbell.
Jihad Campbell is the guy who's kind of steadily gone up boards over the last few weeks. He goes to the Colts as they continue to try and piece that defense back together. 15th overall pick is the Atlanta Falcons, which belongs to me. So the Falcons, I feel like they're never going to figure it out.
Surely they don't go quarterback again, right?
Exactly, right?
Sure.
So,
No, they got the QB.
Kirk Cousins is still there for now, but they're rolling with Penix
He's there to
as the starter. Defensively, I think there's work to be done. I'm going to go with corner Jahdae Barron out of Texas. I really like Will Johnson. I considered him here, but just from what I've read, I think Barron he's kind of slowly rising up boards for a while now. I think he's going to go off the board before Will Johnson. So I'm going to go with Barron to the Atlanta Falcons.
Now Nick's back on the board with the Cardinals.
16th
Nick, I'm going to make you feel
overall.
so uncomfortable.
Well,
Poor Nick.
Poor guy.
I'm on
Well,
Nick's side.
So the Cardinals are a fascinating team because I feel like you always think of what a team needs, and your first need is always like quarterback.
Nick, I'm
wide
going to stare
receiver.
directly at this camera and put it in program just to make you feel weird, bro.
You could, you definitely could do that.
That's all up to you.
Tell me I won't, Nick.
It's an honor. Oh my God, there he is.
God, that's
The man himself.
Give me the
fantastic.
pick.
So I'm gonna go. So you kind of alluded to it. I mean, I can't believe he fell to me. Amembu out of Missouri. This is a tackle that I think is a top 2 tackle in the draft.
Was that your guy?
That was my guy.
That was
Yeah,
your guy. All right.
That
thanks, dude.
that was definitely my
That's
guy.
awesome, too.
Um,
Not
you know,
fuck me, I guess.
jeez. Okay. Oh man, that's funny. So I think of course, there's a lot of strengths to him, right? So he's just 21. He does have a lack of length, but he doesn't have such a bad length that I feel like, he definitely. It's a hindrance to his game to some degree, but he's able to work around it. He definitely has great footwork. He has the occasional slip up, but I definitely think that he's a fluid athlete for his size. He's able to sustain blocks in the run game. He has good feet, good leverage. He has experience also playing both left and right tackle, which is really important. He demonstrated great growth on a yearly basis. His ability. His length is, again, below average, but I feel like, again, what he is able to do with his, deficiencies and make them into strengths in his game is important. And there's also the character side to him, right? This is a guy that came off an ACL tear in October, but you kind of have to bank. So there is again concerns of the prospect himself and how that he's going to bounce back from that injury. But I really do feel like the talent and the upside is there to play as either a right or left tackle. And for someone like Kyler Murray, that he's a very agile player, but also is very short. I think he has his deficiencies as well. I think beefing up that offensive line is important. I also thought about going wide receiver next to Marvin Harrison, but I'm gonna wait because again, like my always thought process is, if you want weapons, you can get them in the second or third round, where they're still available. Whereas if you want line help, they're at a premium in the first round.
Absolutely. Armand Membu, 16th overall to the Arizona Cardinals. Now it's the 17th pick,
Nick
the
stays on.
Cincinnati Bengals. Back to Nick here for the Cincinnati Bengals.
I feel like it's always been with the Bengals is offensive line, offensive line,
They've done that
offensive
the last
line.
3 year draft. The last 3 years in the draft, they got Marius Mims. I do like Marius Mims.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to take a little while. They have Orlando Brown on the other side, who you got from the Chiefs a year ago, I believe, and he's very good. I think this is the year they go defense. I think this is why they finally decided to change, but it's all up to Nick what he thinks they're going to do. And Nick, you're on the clock.
Yeah, so I think it's their off-season plans have pretty much have told us without saying it what their plans are, right?
Resign.
Normal team building. If I was the GM into the offseason, I am not re-signing both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Obviously, two great players, but asset management is very important, especially
They
when
can get out of the T. Higgins deal. It's pretty much a 1 year deal.
that's true. But if you want to look at this season, this is a team that is definitely like the clock's ticking, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have Joe Burrow. Every year of Joe Burrow is important to me, and for a team that's very close to contending, we've seen that the last couple of years. The only thing holding back this team, in my opinion, is tackle play, and defensively, they have been a very poor unit. You mentioned Ashton. Am I going defense? I am not going defense.
I think I know the pick.
They have predicated themselves building around their offense, which is fine. It's an elite offense, right? You can still get defense later in the draft.
This is a very defensive, strong class.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're going to do that, you need the line help to sustain that passing game they want. I'm going to go Josh Simmons out of Ohio State.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be Kelvin Banks.
This is a guy that, again, another fluid athlete. Great footwork. Obviously, there's injury concerns. I totally
I feel like all
understand that.
offensive linemen have injury problems.
I mean, it's true.
Colliding with each other.
For sure. I mean, but this is a guy that's probably the best pass protector in the draft. He has firm, accurate hands,
he faced
great
Abdul Carter.
technique. Again, another one where it's like lack of length, but he's able to deal with that.
A lot of lack of length in this draft. I think Kelvin Banks has the same issue too.
This is not someone that I think can flex into guard. I think he's a true tackle for this team. He can struggle to move D linemen off the ball and in more of man and gap blocking schemes. So I think that's a big issue, and it's probably why he won't go top 10. Sorry, I did mention the ACL tear. That was not the Missouri tackle. I totally mixed up. Yeah, it was Josh Simmons. So my fault there. What applies to what I said about the Missouri tackle, we're gonna apply that right to Josh Simmons. Obviously, there's a red flag there. Excuse me, but again, I think this is a player that put up some really good tape, and for the Bengals, I think definitely his combination of athletic ability and tape is really tough to pass up on. And when you have such a really glaring weakness that they have, I think it's got to be the pick for me.
Looking at that, and especially how this draft's gone, he did face Abdul Carter, and he did really well against him.
Yeah, did he?
If he goes to Cleveland, you've got a guy that can counter him, so you got to be perfectly
All right,
fine.
so
Orlando, you can move him to right tackle
That's
and be
fair.
perfectly fine, or you move Orlando Brown to the other
I
side.
do think Simmons is a very good player.
And you lose Trent Brown, but who really cares? Trent Brown
He's
has been
ancient.
horrible the last 4 years. He literally went to the Bengals, and the first thing he did was be out for the season. So.
Yeah,
and
also-
now he's in Houston.
I also mentioned, sorry, I want to just touch on the Missouri tackle really quick, Membu. The good thing about him, underratedly, is that I think the best version of the Cardinals that you've seen, and down the stretch was an offense that was predicated on the run game, and then using Kyler Murray's ability to work out of structure, out of moving the pocket in the play action game. I think the best version of that Cardinals team is a team that can run the ball effectively with, they've invested, a lot into James Conner, and then of course Trey Benson last year from Florida State. Or Memboob is at worst like a very solid, run blocker out of the gate. So I think it's really important that those two, are very good fits for what they organizationally want to do. Cardinals want to be kind of a mix of pass and the run, whereas Bengals are all predicated on, the passing game. And I think their positional flexibility, kind of determines where they go.
Absolutely. Simmons to the Bengals. Only reason I would have targeted defense is because you're clearly spending a lot of money in free agency on the offensive side of it. Maybe you draft on the defense, however.
They did sign a pretty good
Joe
linebacker
Burrow.
out of Philly, out of the Eagles. He was a backup there, but he played the whole postseason. He played really well. So you get a guy who's going to be the middle of their defense. I can't think of his
Plus,
name.
Joe Burrow has been hurt in the past.
And-
You got to protect him.
But the issue is like going tackle 2 years in now going 3 years in a row would be a problem. That means obviously you didn't trust the guys you drafted the last 2 years. That would be the problem. They do have a good center. They in Ted Karras are obviously Orlando Brown. I think you start with Marius Mims. If Marius Mims doesn't work out, I think next year you go to the tackle pick. But I think sitting here with like Will Johnson sitting on the board, I think that screams.
I would have. So if I wasn't going back to back, if I had, that flexibility, if I had Membu on the board, I would have went with him because of his flexibility to play interior. But because I was, the Cardinals pick, I had to pick the better prospect. You're right about, Will Johnson sitting there still is very important, but I don't think this team, as a corner, like I think about positional, importance and value. I don't necessarily think.
But they don't have a lockdown corner.
That's true.
They have a good corner in I can't think of his name.
Is Hilton still there?
I think Mike Hilton is still there.
Let me look at Bengals.
Probably should know this.
My brain is.
They have one guy
Yeah,
that's pretty good. And then the rest of the secondary is like, eek.
So let's see. Corners, it's not him. Cam Taylor-Britt.
He's not bad.
He's really good, but he's not.
more of a slot.
Yeah.
Dax Hill plays nickel.
They need an outside corner.
DJ Turner's good, but he's also another slot guy.
They need a true outside corner.
And if you get like Cam Taylor-Britt, he should be your other side. He should be your corner too. And if you get Will Johnson, you probably have an elite secondary, especially with Trey Hendrickson, which, by the way, I do think they'll get an extension done. And like I've always had a feeling it's going to be towards training camp. They're going to get the deal done. I think he's just getting in his head that he deserves to be paid. He's a great player, but you're also a guy. I'm not paying Max Crosby money. And the issue is I don't want to pay a defensive tackle $30 million a year. And I think that's what he thinks he's worth. I think he's worth 20. I think he'll get 20. I think the Bengals are going to be like, you're getting 20.
They'll meet them in 26 and a half or something.
And then
like that.
Next thing you know, he'll be fine. He'll be quiet, and then he'll be fine. I like Miles Murphy. I still think he has a ton of potential. He's actually very good. I just don't know why they use it. B.J. Hill, nobody talks about this man. He's probably the most underrated defensive tackle in the league. Nobody talks about him because he's in the NFC North, and he's on the Bengals, and everyone wants to talk about how great the defense the Ravens have when they have no defense. So it's pretty much this defense is going to be underrated next year because everyone kind of forgets they did get the defense coordinator from Notre Dame, and I actually do love that pickup because last year they had Lou Romano, who's now the defense coordinator of the Colts, and he was terrible. So this defense is going to be a lot better next year, but I would have went Will Johnson. I do disagree with the tackle, and if it was going to be a tackle, I would have took Kevin Banks.
Yeah. Well, 18th overall is Seattle, which is me. Seattle's an interesting spot because although you move off of a bunch of pieces in the offseason, you whispering Jackson Dart in my ear like that loudly is crazy.
I'm just kidding.
I was considering. I'm not gonna lie. You trade away Geno Smith. You let go of Tyler Lockett. You trade away DK Metcalf. However, you bring in Sam Darnold. You bring in Cooper Kupp at the receiver position. Probably overpaid him a little bit, though he is still a good player. And, however, we're actually going to see 3 straight tackles go because I'm actually going to take Kelvin Banks here. I think he's a solid tackle. Seattle, to me, I think JSN, coming out, I had him as the number one receiver in his class when he was coming out. He played very well last year. It was just a very busy room, so maybe he didn't get the attention. I think this could be a potential breakout season for him. You have the running back room is a little injury prone with Walker and Charbonnet, but they're both productive backs. You think at least one of them's gonna be healthy at the same at the time if one is not healthy. So I think they're okay there. Defensively, I actually think they have some nice pieces. I like what they have. I think they need to all put it together. They got better as the year went on last year. O-line is the one spot where they didn't really address in the offseason. However, they can address it here. I think if a really strong draft, Seattle actually could be a contender in the NFC. So I'm going to take Calvin Banks here and as I shore up the offensive line. Which now brings up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the 19th overall pick.
And that's Justin.
Which would be Justin. Justin, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I like this team. I do like this team.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is I don't want to go what PFF says to me.
Okay.
I don't want to, but I want to.
Okay.
I also want to. It's like I'm being weird. I know. I don't care. I don't know where I want to go here because on one hand, I do like Donovan Iziraku.
Mm-hmm.
I did not pronounce that correctly.
Mm-hmm.
However, my other concern is Christian Godwin, or Chris Godwin, excuse me. Why did I use the Govey on him? Chris Godwin. And him not being able to stay healthy, which is why a guy like Matthew Golden or Mecca Igbuka are staring right at my face. They're looking at me. They're giving me the eyes, but I'm gonna go Donovan
Iziraku.
Iziraku. Is that how you pronounce
I think
it?
so.
All right, thanks, Ashton. Appreciate you, King. Okay, well, I don't know. I think they do need to bolster up that defense a lot. This is clearly a team with an offense that can take you to the playoffs. The defense, however, is very, very lacking. So they need to adjust that. I still don't know if Todd Bowles is the guy, but whatever.
As a head coach.
As head coach, we'll see. We'll see what he could do with some defensive-minded guy, with some defensive guys. The loss of Liam Cohn is a problem, but they could make it up. I don't see any other issues other than defense and maybe receiver 2 and tight end because K-Dotton is mid. So, sorry, but it's true. But real quick, Ashton, we are at the 20th pick. I know you said we had some changes, and also it did dawn upon me that 75% of this podcast is talent for Sports Buzz.
That's true.
This is
Shout out
your
to
talent
Sports
pool,
Buzz.
guys. It's your talent pool, guys.
We're screwed.
But yeah, 20th pick is the Denver Broncos. So I'm gonna let Ashton kind of take it away for whose pick is up from now on.
I have the next 2 picks.
Okay.
And then I'll go and just guide us through this because I'm the one that screwed up. So I have the Denver Broncos, and every Broncos fan wants a receiver, and I'm like,
No. Like, no.
Cortland Sutton,
No.
pretty good. You just drafted the what's his name, Troy Franklin last year. You got Bo Nix, his guy. Let him play. I think you can get a receiver late in this draft. That is way more important. So that's why I'm taking Kenneth Grant, the D lineman out of Michigan. You need to bolster that defense. Here's the thing. Bo Nix to me is not what you call a superior franchise guy. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback. He's got good arm strength. He's got some mobility. He reminds me a little bit more of towards that Mac Jones type of player, but I think he's a better version of what Mac Jones was. And I still think he can keep the stability because he has a good coach that can teach him things like in a Sean Payton. I just think getting a better defense is what helps young quarterbacks. That's why when you see teams, a lot of these teams that were bad, spent a lot of money on defense. Like you look at, I mentioned it earlier with the Patriots. They spent a lot of money and it was like, that doesn't help Drake, man. Yes, it does. And that's the same thing that the Denver Broncos also did. You went and got Dream Greenlaw. You got Talanoa Hufanga from the Niners. You got both of them. And, yeah, I don't think Hufanga's as good as he used to be. Dre Greenlaw's a little older, but there's still solid guys to put on that team.
And you signed Evan Ingram, too.
And, yeah, Evan Ingram's, he's going to help out on offense. I just think bolstering up this D-line, especially in a division where you have Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and possibly with Geno Smith, and maybe they go get a Jackson Dart later in the draft or Jalen. You don't know who they're going to go, who could be a mobile guy. You got to get after the quarterback. and I just don't see receiver as much of a need. And Grant can get after the quarterback. He can stop the run. He can do pretty much anything. And you need him to do, and he's going to play well, especially in a Sean Payton type defense.
For sure, yeah. They've had a strong offseason, and they had a nice piece in the middle. Grant, I think, is really good. He was kind of overshadowed by Mason Graham at Michigan. He is a very good player. And 21st is the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Brandon's
which
listening. Don't do it. I don't know if he's listening or not. But Brandon,
Brandon, our old friend who's a Steelers fan.
I am on the clock again.
And this is you again, so let's see what you do.
please do what I think you're gonna do.
No,
Please take what I
oh
think
my
you're gonna
God.
do. Please.
So, with the 21st pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh
I might
Steelers
pre-select.
select
I may pre-select. I know where you're going.
Jalen
Oh my
Milrow,
God. He actually did
quarterback,
I
He
Alabama.
knew it.
actually did
I
it.
Here's the
knew
thing.
it.
He did it.
Jackson
Oh,
Dart,
my
to
no.
me,
Oh,
is the
no.
best quarterback in this draft by far. I think he has all the tools. He's put it together. Again, like Cam Ward, going to be a project. I just don't see the Steelers going Jackson Dart because I feel like to
Well,
them...
the Steelers have already admitted that they want a guy like Milrow because of his ability to run the
Yep.
ball. They're looking for their next Ben Roethlisberger, who wasn't even that mobile, by the way. He was kind of mobile, but he wasn't that mobile.
When I
But
look at the team, and like, here's the thing: I'm not gonna say Jalen Milrow is not gonna be a solid
he's
quarterback
not
in
going
this
to be a
draft.
solid quarterback.
I'm not-
He's not going to be a solid
Here's the thing:
quarterback.
he's never gonna be great. I just don't see it with him. He doesn't have the accuracy. He's got great speed. He's got a great arm. If you can get his accuracy to be pretty good, where like maybe he's a short and medium throw guy, you've got a solid average quarterback, and you'll be fine with that. If you're especially a team with the Pittsburgh Steelers with the DK Metcalf, the George Pickens, which I don't think is going to work at all.
They're gonna fight all the time.
The issue is it's like they love Jalen Milrow. And what I've heard and what I've read from looking at Twitter
been linked
and
to him for a while.
Steelers fans that are talking about it, they love Jalen Milrow. And the issue is that you're going to miss on the best quarterback in the draft in Jackson Dart. I do think he goes late in the draft. I think that's the Browns' first pick in the second round is going to be Jackson Dart. Unless some team trades back into the first round pick to get him. I don't think it will happen. I just don't believe they're going to draft the right quarterback for their system. They're not a running quarterback style system. They're more of a pocket passer. This would have been a perfect pick for Shador, who's more of a traditional pocket passer rather than a guy who can run. I think they see Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrows, and the thing. We need that. We need flashy. They don't need flashy. They just need a guy to get the balls into their receivers' hands. And right now, you're going into the season with Mason Rudolph as your starter.
Yeah, look, I think Miro is not good, and I think it's a major reach, but they have been linked to him for a while. I hope for their sake they don't take him, but they've been linked to him for a while. I would assume maybe it's a smoking, maybe it's not, but Milrow to the Steelers. 22nd overall was Los Angeles Chargers.
That is Justin.
Justin, Los Angeles Chargers.
No.
What's
Does
wrong?
Nick Alfidi make me feel uncomfortable? whenever I draft him,
You're still on
judged
this.
by
That's
him.
crazy.
No, you're still on it, actually.
Yeah, you're still on.
Oh
Yeah,
my
you're right,
God.
actually. But I will be playing Marvel Rivals with you later, so it's all good. Chargers, weird team, very weird team. I'm gonna just say it flat out. Give me a Mecha Ibuka.
Okay,
And my
I
reason
like
why
that a
for
lot.
Pick is here's why. Justin Herbert needs help. Joe Alt was a great option for that. However, I still thought that Marvin Harrison was sitting right there. They should have taken him instead. But they first needed line.
Marvin went a pick before.
Oh yeah, Marvin with pick 4.
It was Malik.
Sorry, Malik. My fault, guys.
You're
Spreading
good.
misinformation. I thought they should have went Malik, but they went Joe Alt. It's still a great pick. But in terms of blocking sense, in terms of helping Justin Herbert get more than half a second to throw a football, but he needs people to throw it to. Not
For
a big,
half a second.
I'm not a big fan of their tight end. Not a big fan of. I like Lad McConkey, but he is a 2. He has proven that he's a 2. Emeka Egbuka's skill has been completely overshadowed by Jeremiah Smith. It really has. He's put up some great numbers. Dare I even say wide receiver 1 numbers on Ohio State. Ashton knows that. He's a Buckeyes fan. So I think
He was
Emeka
supposed to be the
Egbuka
wide
is
receiver 1 this
perfect-
year,
I
and
know.
then out of nowhere, Jeremiah Smith said,
that's
F
why I
it.
said he was overshadowed by Jeremiah Smith. So I do think Emeka Egbuka does have some time to shine here. I almost look at it as a Malik Malik Neighbors' Brian Thomas situation, where Brian Thomas was looked less, and Brian Thomas had a phenomenal year on the Jaguars. So Justin Herbert is a great quarterback. He has proven that he is an elite franchise guy in this league, but he has had no one to throw it to for a long time, and Keenan Allen just could not stay healthy when he was there anyway. So give me Emeka Egbuka.
All right, so 23rd overall is the Green Bay Packers, which belongs to moi. I have the Green Bay Packers. So Packers back-to-back division round exits in the NFC. Comes to their needs. You have, I think they could use one more true wide receiver one. Josh Jacobs just decided to just come out and say it. That was kind of crazy for a guy to just come out and say that, but he did. I also think on need they have. I think the secondary they could use a little bit of help. I like what they have in the front seven for the most part, but I'm gonna go with Will Johnson here, the corner out of Michigan. I think this is good value for Will Johnson. I think he's a very good corner. Jari Alexander is getting a little bit older. It seems like every offseason it's like, oh, is he getting traded? Is he not? If it wasn't for the money, he probably would have already been moved. Anyway, he's had some disagreements with the front office and the coaching staff over the years. So maybe his eventual heir apparent is maybe the corner one. He'll probably start as the corner two.
How did he fall this low?
It's just the way the board fell, I guess. But Will Johnson to the Green Bay Packers.
That
and
is
now
insane.
that brings up the Vikings at 24.
And that is Nick. Nick's got the next two picks.
So I've
All
got
right.
the Vikings.
And
Yeah.
the Texans.
Vikings and Texans.
24th overall, Minnesota Vikings.
Well, I think I know I've kept saying this every time I'm up on the board. I promise you, I'm not like just saying this out of my butt. Like, I can't believe. I mean, if you look at the interior and edge players that we still have on the board, like you have legitimate guys that are like top 10, 15 players in the draft that are just sitting here. I think for them, I think at times you look at the Rams game, they got really squishy in that wild card game. And I think, aside from the fact that, Sam Darnold obviously had his game, right? We've all saw that. They still have a legit, like, game-changing asset with their defensive coordinator. Why is his name escaping me right now?
Brian Flores?
Yeah, with Flores. This is a guy that I feel like he is someone that like could be someone that can be a head coach candidate next year, and I think he is such a weapon with how he can take not much defensive talent and turn it into really good defense. If you give him legitimate talent, this defense can be very scary. And I think where they are deficient at is the interior defensive line up the middle. We saw that was an issue in the Rams game for sure. And I'm going to go Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. This is a guy that screams to me. He's like a top – I understand positional value. This is a guy that's a top 15 player, potentially in terms of draft value, in terms of a prospect. I feel like he is, at least I would say he is maybe around the 15th, 20th best player in the draft. This guy is a freak. He is 6'4", 296. I would say, he reminds me a little bit of Sheldon Rankings, a little bit of Jonathan Allen. This is a guy that's pro-ready, power profile. He has explosiveness, a good rip move. He has a really good motor. He could be an impact starter, in this league, and he's only, again, 21. It's what you love to see. He's kind of the prototypical power interior defensive lineman, and I think the Vikings could really use it. And I have them going with Nolan at 20.
Yeah, that's a very good pick. He fits that defense really well. He's definitely a disruptive player. But 25th pick, the Houston Texans. Nick, you're up again.
Hold on. Because we're talking about college sports. I have some news.
What's up?
That has come out.
Ooh.
About 15 minutes ago, this is Sacred Heart related news. About 15 minutes ago, this came out on her Instagram page. Nicira Pryor is hitting the portal.
Oh.
I'm going to cry.
Expected?
I understand her decision.
I don't.
Much respect.
I don't.
I mean, I understand. That's a shame. You never know. She could come back, but I wish her the best if she does go elsewhere.
I mean, she was incredibly talented. I feel like, take the opportunity when it's here.
Especially if she ends up going somewhere else. Like even if maybe UConn gives her an offer and she comes off the bench there, it's a pretty good pick.
25th, Houston Texans.
It's like, okay, that's.
I have a
anyway.
question.
Oh no, anyway.
So, what are our wide receiver? Am I thinking Golden's still on the board, correct?
Yes.
No.
Well, he won't be in a second because the Texans. I have them going Matthew Golden in this spot.
I agree.
Wow, look at us! Wow, who would have thought? You lose
Who'd
Diggs.
have thought? Not me.
Not me.
Not me.
You lose Diggs, but that was kind of a premeditated decision. Obviously, him getting injured midway through the year kind of made that decision before it happened.
Well, I think they wanted to keep him, but they were hoping that he would make it past the draft.
Yeah.
And when Stephon Diggs is the second best receiver on the market after DK, you knew he wasn't going to be sitting there.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I always wanted to get younger and cheaper at skill positions. I understand you can bank on experience at that position, but I don't want a 2-year-old off an ACL tear who has been regressing. He used to be an X receiver, run every route in the route tree, can win deep, can win short, can win medium. You look at his yards per catch, his attempted yards on his targets. They've all gone down. All those metrics are in favor of him becoming more of this like slot guy that is reliable, more of a number 2, one of 3, as opposed to that elite level guy. Obviously, we saw it happen to Tank Dell, which is very unfortunate. You can't really, you kind of have to act like at this point in his career with the injuries he's suffered, you have to kind of consider him to be anything you get out of him now as a plus, but don't bank on him really being an impactful player because it's very hard to come back from those types of injuries. You have Nico Collins as an X receiver, and he's a big-bodied guy that's extremely explosive, can win down the field, exactly what you want in an X. But Matthew Golden is that guy that's kind of like almost the entire, he's almost like the complete opposite of Nico Collins. And I think those two skill sets would be very good. This is a guy that's 5'10", 191. I mean, he is one of the fastest guys in the draft at a 4.4, a sub 4.4, 40. I think he ran 4.29.
Yeah,
is what he ran.
Very, very fast.
I mean, he is probably the fastest guy in the draft, right? This is a guy that's has that potential of a number 1, but he doesn't really need, I would say, to be that guy, right? He doesn't need to be that person that is the number 1. And what's funny is I've been seeing a lot of comparisons for him, to be a Stephon Diggs type player, which is funny because he is pretty much replacing him. This guy was, extremely fluid. It can accelerate and decelerate really quickly, and after the catch, he's a shifty runner. Obviously, there's occasional weighted movement in his route tree, but you expect that from a guy that's very young. And no offense, Quinn Ewers was working with Quinn Ewers. I think you're going to see someone that is certainly benefits from the attention being away from him, and obviously playing with C.J. Stroud. I think he has one of the best deep balls in the league. And I think it's just a kind of a layup pick here. Obviously, there is potential for them to go defense, but if Golden's still sitting here at 25, I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, he is he's very fast. 26th overall is the Los Angeles Rams, which belongs to me. So I am between two.
Yeah, you, Jay.
I am between.
You talking sports?
Hell yeah!
That should be the name of a show.
I know, right? It'll be crazy. But I am between 2 players. There's actually a really good pool of players still left, which is a little surprising.
There's like concerning amount of edge talent that's still available.
Yeah.
Like,
a little Adam
legit.
Copeland talent, those who know.
On this day, I see clearly, but yeah.
Adam Copeland, who's that?
Cope now, good
Cope?
God.
Yeah,
Nice job, Tony. No wonder his company's falling.
Get that company off my screen.
Goof.
There's a lot of edge talent on the board still. I'm interested to see if anyone goes there.
Yeah. But, so 26, I'm between 2 players. I like what the Rams are doing. They're a very good organization. After that one really bad year after the Super Bowl, they've had 2 straight seasons where they've won double-digit games, gotten into the playoffs. You were in the first round of the playoffs 2 years ago. You beat the brakes off of Minnesota this year, and get to the following round. And so they don't have a ton of needs. They've done a really good job very quickly revamping that defense through a draft after Aaron Donald has retired. You add Devontae Adams to replace Cooper Kupp. They're pretty similar, maybe not play styles, but to me, Adams is like a healthier Cooper Kupp, I guess. Maybe not necessarily play style wise because they have different body types, but they're gonna he's gonna play the same kind of role, but and then he'll probably play a few more games as well, even at this point in his career. So I'm actually going to go what I think is a surprise. I'm going to take Jackson Dart here for the Los Angeles Rams. I was staring Colson Loveland in the face here. Tight end's a spot where they could use an upgrade,
that
but
would hurt me. As a Jets fan, that would hurt me. If I want him. That would hurt me.
I know, but I just don't see him getting out of the first round. I'm not sure if he's like a late first round or early second round prospect to me. He probably will go a lot earlier than that, but I actually don't think this is horrible value for him anyway. He is my top quarterback in this class. I think he will be a solid quarterback. I'm not sure if there's a franchise guy in this draft. If there is, it's him, but I think he'll be like a pretty solid guy. The Rams are in a pretty good spot. They won the division last year. Arizona looks to be a little bit better, but I'm not sure if they're as good as the Rams yet. The Niners are probably going to get worse before they get better because you lost a bunch of pieces. Yes, if they're healthy, that could still be a competitive team, but they just lost so many pieces. And then the Seahawks, that should be a competitive team again, but that's probably the top team of the worry about right now. I would argue even ahead of the San Francisco 49ers, depending on what happens in the draft. But right now, I think the Rams are still the best team in that division. Stafford is 37 years old, going on 38. He just did a restructured deal. He's declining a little bit, but still a very good quarterback. But you're probably not going to get more than 2 years out of him. You draft Dart. I think this is a great opportunity for them to have him sit behind Stafford for a year, and then you evaluate him the whole season, and you think he's ready to go, you can move off of Stafford. His contract is now doable, I would think, after he took a pay cut to stay with the Rams. Maybe get a pick out of him next year, and you start him next year. Next year he'll have Puka Nakua. He will have Devontae Adams. He will have Kyren Williams out of the backfield. I just think this is a perfect situation for Jackson Dart. He actually, the only quarterback I think they would take would be Quinn Ewers because he reminds me a lot of Stafford. He's not a first-round prospect to me. So I'm going to go with Jackson Dart for the Los Angeles Rams.
Justin, you're on the clock with the Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens!
Dude, I thought for 2 seconds that I would go Amari and Hampton here just because it would be funny for them to want to run like triple option all the time. That would be so funny.
It would be good value.
There's two guys staring at me. Mm-hmm. Both of them are at the top of the board. Both of them are staring dead at me. Mm-hmm. It's really tough because they're not a bad team by any means, but there are evident holes on this team, which is why they're not going to the Super Bowl. One of which is defense. Another one you can argue is tight end. You could argue with Andrews. But I'm just going to go the safer pick here, and I'm going to go James Pierce Jr. Mm-hmm. There's really no other way to say it. They need some more pass rush. They need an edge, and I think James Pierce is the best option available.
The one thing I know about James Pierce is that he's hard to coach. So Harbaugh better be ready to be on fire with him because the issue is James Pierce Jr. should be a top 5 pick, but he's going to fall
very talented
because everyone in their coaches were saying he gives up very quickly if it's not going well.
I mean,
he
so does Lamar.
Out.
So does Lamar.
No, but
he's
like James Pierce is literally like if the game's not going well, he'll leave the stadium. Like he'll walk out, doesn't care.
Oh well, I wish I.
Like
knew.
he's
Antonio,
very much.
He's gonna pull Antonio Brown.
You know, guys, I'm gonna do it. My name is Justin Alter, and I do not know ball.
But he should be a first-round pick, and this is actually a great pick. You're getting a top 5 talent.
Easily
top 10 talent in this draft at 27, so it's a home run pick. It's just if you're the coach, you better be ready to be a hard-nosed coach with this guy. Be ready to rip him apart and tell him that his ego is so small that it doesn't matter what he has to say. Basically, just like suck him up in the vacuum and just leave him there and just tell him to leave his ego there and never touch that vacuum again.
I will say I think they have the environment for him with John Harbaugh. They have a lot of other young pass rushers there. They're kind of still waiting on Dave Owa, David Ohabo. The Achilles injury at the combine has really killed him, unfortunately.
They have Roquan Smith.
Obviously, had linebacker Roquan Smith as an All-Pro. So I think they have the environment for him.
It feels like they have to go edge or corner because Marlon Humphrey is not good anymore.
He's on the decline. So, but Pierce was one of the best players, not the best player available. He goes to the Ravens. 20th overall is the Detroit Lions.
These are my last 2 picks right here. So, The Detroit Lions. Good team. Really good team. They're the best team last year. I think overall we're the best team last year. They do fall short against the Commanders. And this is where I like this pick. I think it's going to be a home run pick.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. I am surprised he's still
I
on
am
the
too.
board. He's one of the best players in this draft. He falls to 28. Perfect pairing with Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson, we know, has injury problems, but he's really, really good. I almost went Jalen Walker here, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought Shamar Stewart was a better pick.
Yeah.
And he's going to fit well in that Detroit team.
Yeah, he's a very good pass rusher. Also, I'm also surprised he is still here, not going to lie. And now you're up again with the Washington Commanders,
Well,
pick 29.
I actually just spoiled my own pick. It's going to be Jalen Walker. I don't know how again, another top 10 value pick here.
Dan Quinn
is
would
sitting
love
at
that.
29.
Dan Quinn is looking at
probably,
shops.
Dan Quinn probably took a cigar and is now smoking the cigar because you just got probably one of the best picks in the draft at 29.
By the way, not to
Oh
cut
my
you
God,
off.
it's my goat Ryan
I
McNeil.
got shout out Ryan
Ryan
McNeil.
McNeil.
We are doing great, Ryan. I hope you're doing well. And I just
Ryan!
saw also I just saw Ashton commented golden is fast.
I did not do that. Someone must have hacked my
What?
YouTube.
Wait, what? Dude, you commented golden is fast.
I only have Twitter and a PFF mock draft open. My YouTube is not open. It had to be hacked, and Jake hacked it.
I did not. You think I know how to hack?
Yep.
Maybe Justin did. I don't know.
Okay.
See, I'm not throwing anything at Justin. I know it's you, Jake, because I watch you.
It was not me. Anyways, Jalen Walker.
All right. So this is the Bills pick right here, and I'm actually going to give it to Nick. And I'm going to trade that pick. And the 32nd, the Eagles is going. Actually, no, first the Chiefs are going to go to Justin because I want to give a chance Nick to pick a player he wants for the Bills.
Fair enough.
So, the edge group, right? So Pierce is gone, Stewart's gone, right?
Yep.
All right. So I'm between three people. And sorry, I'm an
Gotcha.
idiot. I'm not even close to my mic. I'm between three individuals. All of which, if they fell to this position, I would be very excited for the Bills to pick up. I think the glaring weakness that is pretty obvious that this Bills team lacks is a source of pass rush as the calendar turns into the new year and the postseason, right? And this is a
Joey
edge.
Bosa should help too.
What's that?
Joey Bosa is going to help as well.
Sure, but again, like how
We need a
much
guy.
do you what is the long-term future of him at the position on your team? How much are you actually getting out of him? Is he going to stay on the field, right? And then when he is on the field, what are you actually getting, right? Because when he's on the field, he's great, but that's been the problem and the reason why he was able to be picked up on a one-year deal is, this is a guy that has been able to or not been able to see the field. I would target either edge or interior defensive line, right? It's pretty. There's other routes you can go. You can go receiver if you want. You can go safety if you want, right? Because a lot of people had concerns over whether Cole Bishop is going to become a full-time starter next year. Does DeMar Hamlin keep the job, et cetera, et cetera? I think you're set at corner, even though, again, like the Rasul Douglas replacement is needed, but maybe it's in-house. Maybe I feel like with the corner position, you probably have to go in the mid-rounds for that.
I feel like Denzel Burke from Ohio State's a good pick there in the third round. If you guys can get him.
Yeah. I would probably be, take that as a third round or second round, fourth even. Bean has history, of doing that and having good success with it.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to go. This is tough. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with. Oh man, this is because I've got two edge rushers that I'm surprised that fell this far. Both Georgia players, so I've I've seen them before, and I've also got an interior defensive lineman later down my board that I would say is a worse prospect, but I feel like what the Bills need more than anything is interior defensive line. Oof, this is tough. Okay, I gotta think of this for a second.
You got this, Nick. I
don't know.
I believe in Nick.
The fate of the Bills
Franchise is right here.
is on the line.
It's on Nick's finger.
It's on Nick's fingertips.
This is the player that's gonna get us past the Chiefs finally. Is it? I'm gonna go. Wow, this is brutal. I think. Okay, I've made my mind up. I know everyone's like on their seat waiting for this. I am going to go with Derek Harmon out of
Okay.
Oregon. I am very tempted to either go Walker or Williams, and I imagine they're going to go in the next 2 picks. If they don't already, if they don't, I would be shocked if they don't. I think those are 2 guys that are, yes, they are, kind of floaters. Like I think they could go either in the first or second round. But I've seen them as far as like a top 15 player in some mocks, and I understand why, right? Like there's a lot to like about those 2 in terms of their bend and explosiveness. But it has been a thing of the past from Georgia edges rather that they're a little bit unpolished, right? And they need a little bit of coaching. Not to say that if the Bills did pick them, that they wouldn't do a good job in their development. I think they've done a fine job with AJ Epinesa, getting the most out of him. Greg Rousseau is a huge project that many people were against. He hadn't really played that much professional football until he got drafted by the Bills, and he only had 1 year because of COVID, and yet he's turned into a legitimate 1B type guy. At least if he's not Batman, he's definitely Robin from that sense. I'm gonna go with Derek Harmon out of Oregon because this is a guy that I think is still someone that I have a first round grade on, and this team desperately needs someone next to Ed Oliver that can take space and really be a force in the interior defensive line. I think. Oh my God, why am I blanking on the name? I'm the Bills fan here. I should know this. No, who's next to Ed Oliver? My brain's fried right now.
Rousseau, Epinesa.
No.
It's an inside guy.
Yeah, old.
Not Daquan Jones.
Yeah, it is Daquan Jones.
Oh,
wow,
okay.
man, that's really, really, really embarrassing there. But no, I really do think, this is a guy that can play inside, has good bull rush ability, quick twitch athleticism. He can win with a variety of like swipe, swim, chop, rip moves. He reminds me a lot of, a Christian Barmore, if you will. This is a guy that's a dynamic rusher. He wins laterally, and he can use his length, I feel like, to really get at the quarterback. He's a bit, I think he's someone that can become an every down player for sure. And he's someone that I was thinking like, hey, this is a guy that like is the prototypical late first round pick in, for at his position anyways, is good value. And I just think, if you're looking at the Bills, a lot of what they struggle is that interior pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw in the Super Bowl, what does a quarterback hate the most? If not edge pressure from the outside,
Mm-hmm.
you could step up in the pocket. But if you have a pass rush coming at you from the interior, there's nowhere to go except around or through.
Milton Williams' impact with the Eagles, like you were mentioning, because he got right in there and he had that strip sack on Mahomes, and that was the third quarter or something.
Yeah. That's the most like the number one thing that is able to disrupt the quarterback more than anything is interior defensive line pressure. Quarterbacks do not like pressure from coming the inside. They'd have to. It disrupts their pocket. It disrupts their flow, their footwork. And if you're looking at the Bills, I really think Daquan Jones has taken a step back, and I could see him, out the door next year. One of those guys. Where last season there was this whole, noise about the Bills getting younger and cheaper, and all those stalwarts of the last like half decade that are going and left, and people thought, myself included, how are we gonna, recover? But Daquan Jones was the one guy that Brandon Beane was one of the older guys he re-signed, and not just a 1 year, but a multi-year deal, which, if you look at his play, made sense, but I feel like he's taken a step back, and I think the person that could fill those shoes very nicely and into the future is Derek Harmon, so I'm going to go with him for that pick.
Yeah, you definitely got a couple options there. Like how Williams is a talented pass rusher, but and I agree with you. Defensive line is probably the way to go. I think they need another cover corner, but there really isn't one worth taking here.
Yeah,
so,
there's
I
not
do
much.
like Siobhan Revel, but I feel like you can get like someone better or someone that's equally as good as him in the second or third round. So we're at 31. That is Justin.
Kansas City Chiefs.
This is a hard pick. This is a tough pick.
It is a very tough
They
pick.
do need offensive line.
I know.
or
Don't
defense.
cock me here, Ashton. I don't know. I think to myself, okay, what is there to fix when you're the Super Bowl runner-ups? Well, it's because you're the Super Bowl runner-up, so clearly something's got to be fixed. I'm going to make a hot take here. Outside of quarterback and Chris Jones, everyone could fuck off. Really.
Nick Bolton's not as good as he
This
used to be.
team, I'm surprised this team made it this far.
Yeah, me too.
With how close they. I'm sorry, Nick, but it's true. I'm surprised they made it this far.
You were hoping they didn't.
Yeah, I really was. But with that now, you lose Joe. The thing is this, Rashee Rice is good when he plays and isn't an idiot. That's fine. I think Xavier Worthy has some potential. I'm not going Colston Loveland here just because Travis Kelce had a down year. I am not going quarterback because I'm not stupid. I don't think Patrick Mahomes having one down year immediately rules him out as being a bad quarterback. Hate him all you want. He is not a bad quarterback by any means. And then you do lose Joe Thuney, which now is adding another piece to your team.
And
That is
tackle's not that good.
That is a problem.
Jawan Taylor is.
What was that?
Both tackle spots aren't that good.
Yeah, both tackle spots.
Jawan Taylor.
Your
will
best
rip
lineman
my
is
Jawan
literally
Taylor,
your
brain
Jawan
out.
Taylor has cost them
right guard and
so
center.
many times. But I do have some deja vu here. The last time they did lose in a Super Bowl recently, before this, was the Buccaneers, and they got smoked because nobody could protect Patrick Mahomes. He is your X factor. He is your guy. My pick is the school good? No. Is the history of the players that come from the school good? No. Give me Gray Zabel to tackle out of North Dakota State. Yes, they have had a history of producing mediocre players. Trey Lance is not good. Carson Wentz, not good. This guy's a tackle, though. I swear, guys, it's different this time. I promise.
The one thing
I just think this is the right option for them.
One thing I do notice that when they did lose that Super Bowl in 2020, they do like to hit the panic button very quickly.
Yeah.
They're very much a team when it comes to the draft. Like, I think they're better tackles like a Josh Carney. They're still sitting on the board, yes. This does scream a Chiefs pick. They do like to reach a lot. I'm not going to lie, they're not a great drafting team. Rashee Rice is solid. I just don't think he's that good.
Are you calling my pick bad?
No, I'm actually agreeing with your pick. I do like Zabel. I think he does have plenty of talent. He will definitely be in that span of that 29 to 32nd overall pick if he's going to go in the first round. So he's in his right spot. It's a good pick for the team, especially because it is a need pick. But when I look at their past years, you drafted what's his name, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, terrible pick in the first round. You did. I don't think Xavier Worthy was even worth a first round pick.
Xavier Worthy would have been there in the second, third round.
He's only fast. He's not anything special. He's got solid hands. He just reminds me of he's just a Tyreek Hill 2.0. That's all he is. They have no receiver help. But the issue is you're not drafting any of the other receivers on the board in the first round when I can get them in the second round. And Greg Zabel's Gray Zabel. Sorry, Greg.
It looks like it should be Greg Zabel. Doesn't
Yeah,
it?
I know, and it's Gray, and I don't know where they came with that name from, but it's all right. It's obviously there's people that are obviously named Gray, and it could also be Grayson. He just goes by Gray, obviously. But good pick here. They do need tackle help desperately. Obviously, if like Booker was there, Trevor Booker, you probably would take him instead, but he's off the board already. He went to the Cowboys. 19 picks ago. So, obviously, it's the best pick they can possibly go with here. So, if you're the Chiefs, you're probably seeing perfectly square.
Yeah, that's a good pick. The tackles is definitely needed. Jawan Taylor, he's like addicted to taking penalties.
And
but
now it's you.
I get to take us home with the Philadelphia Eagles at 32.
What
so
is your show?
Omarion Hampton is on the board. Not going to take him because they have Saquon Barkley and they just locked him
That
up.
would be a stupid pick.
That would be very dumb. And for people being like, oh, how do you get out of the first round in your mock draft? I feel like every year there's like 4 or 5 guys that make surefire first rounds that drop.
You had Christian Barmore, who was a guaranteed first round pick going into the draft, falls to the second round. You had Keon White a couple years ago, was another big name. Last year, Keon Coleman was supposed to be a first round pick. He fell out. Lad McConkey was
Yeah,
another
so
one.
this
Plethora of players.
this happens every year. I took a look at Colson Loveland. I think he's a first-round talent. I think he's a very good tight end. The Eagles love their tight ends.
And they're going to probably get rid of Goddard.
And that's right, Goddard is on the trade block, so this makes sense. I took a look at him, but in the end, I'm going with Micah Williams. For whatever reason, Howie Roseman loves Georgia defensive players. Micah Williams is a talented pass rusher. I think this is solid value for him. I think he's a late first-rounder. They are so deep in the front seven to the point where they cannot add a pass rusher in this draft and probably still be okay. But still, you lost a lot of talent. You lost Josh Sweat. You lost Milton Williams. You did lose a lot of talent. And but still, I think Brandon Graham retired. But you still have Jordan Davis. You still have Jalen Carr. You brought in Bryce Huff last year, who was a talented player. Didn't really play a lot this year. You had Nolan Smith there, another Georgia guy. You still have a lot of talent there.
Georgia dude.
But yeah, but they love their Georgia defenders. They love having a ton of depth on that front seven. Something Vic Fangio really likes as well. Their coordinator. I'm going with Micah Williams.
I think you definitely had to go edge here because Josh Sweat you could lose, but I felt like Milton Williams in that interior front.
That's a tough loss.
He is a monster.
You saw him in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, like because Sweat wasn't even good before he went to the Eagles. Like he was an average player. Like he was solid, but then he went there, went to the Eagles, broke out. Now he gets a big money contract. But I feel like a guy like Milton Williams that they lost, and they possibly could lose a Jordan Davis or a Jalen Carr in a couple of years. You got to keep refreshing. And Michael Williams is the perfect edge rusher for this team.
Absolutely. And that's all we got for you guys today. Justin, Ashton, and Nick, thank you guys so much. I do plan to do live streams in the future as well. Maybe not.
Do you want to, sorry not to interrupt you. Do you want to just go over, just kind of review our 32 picks?
Actually, yeah.
Going down the list.
Let's do that.
PFF's not giving me a grade for this. I'm kind of upset.
So the top 10 went out like this. Cam Moore to the Titans. Abdul Carter to the Browns. Shador Sanders to the Giants. Travis Hunter to the Patriots. Mason Graham to the Jaguars. Ashton Genty to the Raiders. Jets take Tyler Warren. Panthers get Tet McMillan, the receiver. Saints get Mike Green. Malachi Starks with the 10th pick to the Bears. 11 through 16 was Luther Burden to the Niners. Tyler Booker to the Cowboys. Will Campbell to the Dolphins. Jihad Campbell to the Colts. Jade Barron to the Falcons. Armand Membu to the Arizona Cardinals. And then we'll do 17 through 25 was Josh Simmons to the Bengals. Calvin Banks Jr. to the Seahawks. Donovan Ezaraku to the Bucks. Kenneth Grant to the Broncos. Jalen Milroe to the Steelers.
He's going to be a Steeler.
Emeka Egbuka to the Chargers. Will Johnson to the Packers. Walter Nolan to the Vikings. Matthew Golden to the Texans. And to finish off, we had Jackson Dart to the Rams. James Pierce Jr. to the Ravens. Shamar Stewart to the Lions. Jalen Walker to the Commanders. Derek Harmon to the Bills. Gray Zabel to the Chiefs. And Mike Cal Williams to the Philadelphia Eagles. That is the Talkin Sports with Jake 2025 mock draft. It's definitely the best mock draft out there.
We gotta see we gotta see what our post mock. Oh, when we do the live stream, we should probably have it up, see if we got it right.
Yeah,
I saved it onto my camera. I have it on my computer. So
yeah, download it.
I did
because PFF
yes,
will take it away.
Yeah, I also downloaded it. You never know. Maybe we'll do something for the draft. We're still figuring that out, but either way, we'll do some more live streams in the future for some bigger things like this going forward. But so keep your eyes peeled for that. We got some more content coming for you guys next week from this show. But thank you guys again. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.
See you guys. I'm gonna put this off the black now. Bye.
Ugh.